Alright. Meeting warrant.
At 7:30.
Welcome all those of you who stuck it out
Yeah.
that long, holy
So-
crow.
It is 7:26 as the board is returning to open meeting.
Tell you.
Anybody in the hall that needs to be notified?
No,
You guys were the only holdouts.
we're still here, and that's
Okay.
that.
If there's no objection,
I object.
were you just waiting to get your coat?
No.
Okay.
That's good to hear, cause that would have been a sad story.
Yeah.
Bears.
That's what it's here for.
If there's no objection, would the board like to move new business number 11, accept donation from the Friends of the Monterey Library toward the library building project loan to the first item in this open session?
Yeah, sure.
No objection. So Mickey Jervis is here. Mickey Jervis, you're here on behalf of the Friends of the Library?
Friends and the trustees.
Oh my gosh.
Money?
Yep.
Bribery?
So.
Yep.
let's
Why are
open
you guys
this up.
giving us money? You guys need it.
It's the actual money.
Yeah.
So-
Is it the money? Maybe?
No, Justin has the letter, he can read it.
Okay,
Okay.
to address to the select board dated September 19th, 2022 on Friends of the Monterey Library letterhead. Dear board members, at the request of the trustees, the Friends of the Monterey Library will be making a donation to the town in the amount of $25,000. This donation is to be used to reduce the balance of the loan taken in support of the library building project. Together with the town appropriation of $100,000, this will leave a balance of $875,000 to be financed this November. Sincerely, Carrie Bella, President of the Friends. Thank you.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Amazing, that's
It's
amazing.
not coming out of my pocket, well, some of it is.
No, but still, that's amazing that you guys
It's,
raised it.
It's
really
something that
impressive.
we felt that we could do, that we should do, the money was raised for the building project, a lot of it was specifically for that, and,
When did you start that raising? Was it after the building was
No.
finished?
no, it was before. Actually, the reason we got to start the building quickly was that the Friends supported it before the grant came through. Before we had any money, before loans were taken, we had a lot of the building done. First loan was taken in January, and we had been building since September. So, the Friends supported that.
So who knows how that money gets, does it just go into the general fund?
No, I don't know how a copy of this went to Sarah Hunter. I will mail it tomorrow if you guys approve this, accept it, I guess. And then,
That's the question is, how is it accepted?
So,
So someone needs to deposit it, either give it, if Mark doesn't know how to do it, you can give it to me and I will deposit it and put a copy of this letter.
and so
And
because it
then
has
what's
to be
go, what account does
specifically,
it go into?
So she'll create, if there isn't already a library donations account, she'll create a library donations account.
And that goes, how does it get used?
Yeah, I was just gonna say.
So
Yes.
because of this letter, it'll be only for the loan, so I'm assuming once we,
Ah,
Okay.
so
gotcha.
when,
the
I
ban
got
comes
you. So
due
the-
in
yeah.
October,
So this is just going directly towards the loan.
right.
yeah, it goes directly towards the loan for no other use.
and I think, we've been doing $100,000 the last few years.
Should've read it.
Yeah, that's what was appropriated, and actually what was appropriated was $104,188.33, because the $4,188.33 is interest. And so 100 from the town appropriation and 25,000 will be paying down 125 this year instead of just 100.
Right, nice.
So one thing that we've run up against in the past is that the select board has to accept donations made to the town, formally.
Yeah.
So I am not certain that, it's necessary, but I would make a motion that the select board, on behalf of the town, accepts this donation of $25,000 from the Friends of the Monterey Library toward, reducing the balance of the loan of the library building project.
Second.
Second, is there any discussion or comment?
It's amazing, thank you so much. That's my only comment.
It's just a nice thing to be able to do.
It's a nice thing to have you do.
No,
Aye.
Okay, so we'll call
Yeah,
vote.
bye.
It was either a
2 yeses
vacation or
from
that.
Scott and Susan, yes from Justin, motion carries.
Right.
And thank you to the Friends of the Library for the generous donation. Okay, we will get right into old business. So, citizens, or Ellen Coburn has raised that the rules of order that the select board has have not been being followed 100%. And that is incumbent upon me as chair to recognize speakers and be fair in doing so, and make sure that speakers abide by the speaking rules. I will attempt to do better in moderating these meetings, but I also wanted to provide this for Scott. It's got number 1 on it, because this predates Scott's time on the board. Well,
I
this
had it a minute
this
ago.
term on the board. I could read through the whole thing, but
No, I read it, I'm
Okay.
just trying to find where it is, so it could be right in front of me here.
You want another copy? I can give you one.
Nope, here it is.
if at any point anyone wants to amend these rules of order,
Well, where are these rules of orders written?
They're actually posted on the
Good,
select
so
board
then I
page.
waive that we read this.
okay, yes, so the rules of order are on the select board's webpage.
Or I move that we waive the reading of.
Yeah, if there's the general consensus that we will not read these into the minutes, but that the chair, that I will try to follow them more closely to ensure orderly discussions. The next item is the draft special town meeting warrant. Since last week, we've learned that, we revisited the estimate that was given by Jim and realized that in the $26,500, we had left out the logging truck and the extra allowance to ensure any overages can be covered, and then we have enough to complete the project, because it is an estimate. So we had mistakenly used the $26,500 figure. Now we're working with $29,580 for the Bidwell Park and the community center. We also received free cash certification 2 days ago, and the town's free cash available is $512,836, so just over $500,000. With the tree works in particular, how would the board feel about focusing this special town meeting on just Bidwell Park, rather than doing both projects?
I'm okay with it. I
I'm
think
okay with
the
that.
community center project can legitimately wait, till next year, and maybe these storms will give us a clearer idea of how much of it really needs to be done.
And maybe we'll have more storms to deal with up there.
Are we still doing the unpaid bills, or are we gonna use free cash for that, or what do you wanna do?
So, there's a bunch of questions. I wanna
Right.
even get through the tree.
Sorry, you
first.
just said, I wasn't sure if
Oh,
you
yeah.
were saying all or just of those.
Oh, no, just
No,
of
that's
those
fine.
two.
I agree.
So, and bring up, Melissa, by any chance, do you have an updated copy of my revised letter about the tree work?
Yeah, it's in there, actually, I think it's toward the back, it's like 16B or.
Oh, 17B.
Yeah.
Oh, I got numbers from last week too.
Okay, I get it.
I preemptively, because of discussion last week, had the sense that maybe we would just do the Bidwell Park project, and I drafted, does it say at the beginning of the special town meeting, it has 2 articles or 1 article?
And article.
For tree work at Bidwell Park, yep.
Oh, I asked for me not to receive a copy of it, and now I'm confused why I don't have a copy. So,
I can print you one if you'd like.
no, I have it on my computer, I just,
Right, been there.
print for 9/21.
So what is your question regarding 17B?
So
And
this,
mine.
oh geez, why did I have a random active? Oh, you're still. So do we approve this as a board to go into the Monterey News, to go on our website, take a look at it? This special town meeting warrant. It's related to what we put in last week, but it's updated.
That's fine with me, we gotta ask it from somewhere. And knowing that there's 512, certainly made me smile a little bit more than thinking that was running 280. So there's a little more cushion in there than anticipated.
Yeah.
And ARPA seems to be something that
It's a one-shot deal, so.
we don't wanna touch.
Yeah, I'd rather use it for special things that, that we will never accomplish another way, or would be much less likely to.
I mean,
So-
I'm, unless there's,
So the main change,
Yeah,
there's two
something
main
else.
changes to this, just to summarize. One is, I said that we're really just dealing with the tree work at Bidwell Park.
Yep.
And then I, changed the numbers to reflect the
Right.
increased costs that we're all aware of. And other than that, it generally remains the same as last week when we discussed this. That's the only tree work, unless there's any opposition, that's the only tree work that will be on the special town meeting warrant.
Looks good, and I think it would be great to have it in the Monterey's.
Okay.
And did the thing the short thing I wrote that we talked about last week about the property issues, is that, did Melissa send that to the Monterey News? Did we want to send it to the Monterey News? It's posted on our website.
The recent land conservation, yes, it's
Yes.
posted on the website. I think we should send it to Monterey
Okay,
News.
so I'll do that, that's what I was trying to communicate,
I
I
think-
thought we had agreed to it, but I wasn't sure if I was free to actually send it
as
to Steve.
the board or as
Either one,
That's
we,
just
I
sending
can send it, sure.
I think, do you want to as a board? I thought we approved it as a board.
I thought we did
We
too.
did.
Yeah,
So,
so
okay,
board-
so I'll send it as a board.
And then we'll send the article about the tree work as a board.
That's why I
So
was
what do you
confused,
think?
I'm sorry if my email was confusing, what I was trying to do is be like, what happened, we did approve this, what am I supposed to do with it? That was really what that
Yeah,
was,
long meeting.
right?
Okay, so we will have two articles for the Monterey News, including the tree work article, which,
And if we're talking about Monterey News stuff, I gave you guys some stuff at the beginning. I wrote something, I'm happy to put it under my own name if you would prefer, but basically I tried to summarize. I handed it to you, had it, this, under this.
yeah, for Joe.
It's right there. The one underneath that's the permission, it's that one. And you had a yellow sticky on yours,
which was immediately lost.
sorry.
I'm
Is
pretty
it
certain I
behind you?
read it. It was
Scott,
an email.
is this you?
No, that was,
No, I just gave it to you tonight, because I drafted it yesterday.
Here's what I would say, you wanna put this in under your
Yeah,
own
I'm
name, cause you know, you think
absolutely
Justin
happy
and I.
to put it over, under my own name, and I have no problem with that. The only thing I would love, especially because you've been here the whole time, is if I made any substantive errors, I would prefer to know, like, that happens, I'm trying really hard, but I don't wanna have a boo-boo in there that's not okay.
and that's this letter.
Yes,
Yes.
Looks good to me,
okay.
as far as facts.
Yeah, that was all I wanted, I just, and if you think of anything before tomorrow that should have been on there, because it's something we did and I forgot to mention it, and you think it's a big deal, it's not opinion, I just, like, I didn't include everything we did, my God, that would be a very long list.
Yeah, so you'll put that in the Monterey News?
Yep.
Under your name?
Yep.
And then we'll have the two under the select board.
Excellent,
To
back
return to
to
tree work.
town meeting, yep.
So now that we have free cash, before we get too far, now that we have free cash, we wanna spend the free cash on the tree work at Bidwell Park? Rather than stabilization, rather than
I'd rather,
something else, yeah. free
Unless
cash.
there's a significant reason not to.
I believe that at that special meeting, the form from which it comes from can be bartered.
Right.
And just because we say we're gonna take free cash,
We're suggesting, and then they
Right.
either
I
change
think
it or
that-
not, but what do we wanna suggest?
yes, because I think that our suggestion can become merely that if it seems like
Sure.
stabilization is a more prudent way to take it from.
And the only thing being, certain amendments could be outside the scope of the warrant, but the moderator seems to be pretty lax as far as that's goes.
He's chill.
We're not gonna call him
Well,
lax, we're gonna call him relax.
Well, some moderators don't allow increases at all.
Well, I'm not
Not
saying
any
an
items.
increase, I'm just
Really?
saying from where the money comes.
Some moderators don't allow increases and others only allow increases up to a certain percentage.
But if we're trying to,
But we're talking about
Put this
which
to
account
bed.
it
Yeah,
comes
we're,
from.
yeah,
let's
so
just say that.
we'll
we
say
can
it's
take-
free cash, tree work at Bidwell Park.
Okay.
The unpaid bills of $10,001.66. Do we all agree we want that in special town meeting warrant
Yeah.
Yeah, he needs to be paid.
out of
Yep.
free cash? Okay, item number
Do we have to deal
three,
with the bill?
yes, but let's do
Oh,
three
where's
first.
that, that's not going on, they weren't under the draft special town meeting warrant, so I didn't.
No, well, cause
Yep,
they're
yep.
kind of in the middle
Yeah, I get it.
spot between two.
So we got that letter,
The regional school district planning board chair, Lucy. So at our last meeting, we left off that maybe they don't need the funds anymore. And we heard back from Lucy, who
Said that you may
somewhat
not.
confirmed, and I have it highlighted, and she said, I'm not gonna read the whole letter, but there have been two encouraging developments that may reduce or possibly even obviate the need for the requested funding at this time. We leave to you the decision whether to table our request until after the supplemental budget is addressed. For those towns that have a special town meeting already scheduled in the next month or so, you may decide that you would prefer to seek authorization at that meeting for up to $15,000 in the event the state funding does not materialize. Either way, we do not plan to ask you to contribute any specific amount until we determine exactly what additional funding, if any, we will need to raise locally following action on the supplemental budget. The reason that I would prefer to not seek authorization at this special town meeting is if we allocate $15,000 to a free cash to this, we can't, I guess if we had another special town meeting, we could take it back out, but that money's tied up, even if it doesn't get spent. So when we go, what we've been doing with free cash generally is spending on whatever special articles we need and then using the rest of it to lower the tax levy for that year. And so that would, if that's what we're gonna, assuming that's what we do generally this year, that would be $15,000 that's tied up and we can't use to lower the tax levy.
Or for any
so our choices are, we either say up to, get it authorized, but then we have to set it aside even if we don't end up using it, or if they end up needing it, make it another special town meeting. I just wanna make sure I understand.
No,
what the
so if we
choice is.
set it aside,
Option
if
three.
we authorize
appropriate
it,
it's appropriated and it's like,
Right,
it's a check that you write to yourself, put it
right,
somewhere else.
okay,
And then it's a matter of time before that has to either go, I think, go back into free cash if it gets absolved,
right.
or whether we.
we wouldn't get it till next
Request it.
fall,
We
probably.
would get, so what other option do we have?
Not putting on a special town meeting warrant. And then if they come back with a request that we find to be valid and it really warrants a special town meeting, we can have another one.
Okay.
But to me, the way that this is written,
I agree with you.
Okay.
so we will not,
The only reason I wanted it on there at all was to raise awareness of the ongoing discussion, but there are other ways we can accomplish that goal, so.
For publishing this letter.
this will be in our minutes, yeah.
Well, it should also be in the town. This is a follow-up to what we were talking about last week. If he wants articles, well, we can give him once for reading. I mean, 'cause here's the reason why we did what we just did, or what we're trying to accomplish.
Or it might be, I think it might be more helpful to write something broader about what's going on with the school, yeah. But
Maybe
I didn't get to
next
that
month
this
or
year, it might be
something.
next month, yeah, I don't think I'm
Don't
gonna
give
get
them
there
too
this
much
month.
at one time.
So
I don't think I can write that.
last but not
Keep
least
'em hungry.
Jeremiah.
is the bill from Jeremiah.
So is this the thing from,
So this is the last item that could potentially end up on the special town meeting warrant. I reached out to Donna, as the board agreed that I should do, and Donna responded, but it's not simple. She said that he was only providing an estimate, right? So it wasn't an agreement to limit the amount, but there's laws that she cites that the client should be reasonably informed about the status, which in this case, she claims should include when the cost is outstripping the estimate. Another thing that I noticed when I was going through this item was that Jeremiah had said that staff that were not himself that'd be working on the appeal would be billed at $30 an hour.
Yeah.
And no one was billed at $30 an hour.
Do we
So
have a breakout of the bill? Is that what's
the
on the back?
breakout of the bill is this, I can show it to you. It's on the,
It's on the back.
it's on.
It's on the back.
is it on-
Is that it?
Yeah.
Nope.
Oh, okay.
This is the breakout of the bill. This is the invoice September 1, 2022. There is a list of things that were done. And then the breakout is 46.7 hours at $180 an hour.
Okay.
And then the filing, which was $331.31.
That is on this.
Yes,
Wait, it's on where?
that breaks out the two bills, but it doesn't,
Oh, it doesn't include, it doesn't
this is
say
it.
that.
So what Don is saying is that we should do two things. One is say,
Asking for clarity.
yeah, some clarity, this is way above the estimate. you
Right.
know. And then the second thing is any of this supposed to be billed at $30 an hour? We don't have a contract in writing, but there is a certain level of understanding that we're given an estimate and we have to.
Due diligence to the estimate.
So does the board want Donna to proceed with drafting this letter to Jeremiah, or just send this letter to Jeremiah, because mostly just for clarity at this
Yeah.
point?
I
Yeah.
think so.
I will tell
I
Donna to
mean,
proceed.
we're probably gonna end up paying it, but I'd like to know why we're paying it.
We may or may not,
And it
because
shows the bill.
some of us,
Sure.
Break it down.
some of it may be reduced to $30 an hour.
Right.
If
If we raise the
all
issue.
goes well.
Well, it could have been an oversight.
Yep, it totally could have, it's happened before.
But for now, that's not going on the special town meeting warrant. I
Okay,
believe it's in the neighborhood of $6,000 over what we have appropriated. And if it gets negotiated down at all, I mean, I think that we have grounds to request a reserve fund transfer. Not that the finance committee will necessarily approve it, but it would be the amount of money they might be able to accommodate. It's unexpected. We were estimated, look, even if we have an obligation to pay them, we were estimated a certain amount, and then it went over. And I think that's what the reserve fund's for,
The estimate or the overage.
the overage. I mean,
So how do we pay the estimate?
we had enough funds,
So,
not quite, to pay somewhere in the middle of the estimated range.
right, so what, do we still have those funds?
Yes,
I mean,
we
that
have
was
20,
appropriated when? That was
town meeting, we got 2,500 for litigation fees,
it.
that was it.
Out of the 9 that he's asking.
Out of some of the 9, we requested, you can see it later on, but,
Because it doesn't
we're,
walk you through the whole process, and of course, it was long before I got it.
yeah, so this is what happened,
So there was money appropriated for this litigation.
we used
not
to,
the full amount, and this is what happened.
I understand,
Yeah.
not the full amount, because it went over.
advise against the margin.
So is this guy gonna get any money? I mean, paid something, so he's not like holding his hand in his ass trying to get some money?
Jeremiah, we could pay him what we have available to us,
And then ask for clarity on the rest of the
we
bill.
could,
I think we should ask for clarity on the bill and,
Well, so do I. I'm just
Yeah.
curious, why, if we think that if we need money, why don't we ask for it? We know we're gonna need it. And
it's
then,
from special town meeting.
yeah, and just put that amount on it, because that amount is a lot less
Well-
than 29,000 or something like
and
that.
going back
it's-
again. it's
And
gonna
we're going down from that amount.
Yeah.
And personally, I would rather have extra set for litigation than not enough.
Well, we can't use it for anything other than what it's,
Exactly, I'm not suggesting
Yeah, yeah,
we use
yeah.
it for anything else,
Right.
I just would like to know that we have the money if we need it, and I guess we can always go back to another special town meeting, but, hey,
well, those special town meetings should be considered just that.
exactly,
Special,
it
so-
shouldn't be a constant
Right.
thing,
You
right,
know,
so.
We have too many.
Right. I know.
So the point being this, Scott, if we pay him the total 4,000 on the higher end of his range, if that's how things shake out, how much would we be short, a couple $100?
1,500.
No, because we paid
Oh,
the
because
first
the
bill
previous
last year,
on 20
because we went
right.
in this meeting with Jeremiah, and I kind of quoted it in this transcription, this short transcription I wrote. We said, Jeremiah, we don't have a big budget, so we need some bills this year. Because we have money this fiscal year.
Gotcha.
We thought, okay, if we get 1,000, 1,500 in bills this year, we'll have the money to pay the 2,500 that we have next year towards this appeal. So we did get one bill for 522 in last fiscal year.
Mhm.
But that's a pretty small piece. of
Yeah,
it.
it's a pretty small piece. And none of it was billed at $30 an hour.
So we're still looking at $9,000.
No, because we've already paid 522.
Yeah, but I mean,
So we're looking at 8,737.
that's really close to $9,000.
Yeah,
So,
she rounded up.
I mean,
and
I round things up.
I know.
And you're talking
But we
$1,000,000.
have 2,500 of that.
So, but
So we're talking 6,000, we don't.
Yes, right.
6,200
6,200.
plus change.
So you think that should just be a transfer? After the negotiation?
Yeah. So I think we're gonna get somewhere with the negotiation, because
Well, so do I.
we're gonna we're gonna say, your ultimate bill was more than double the
Yeah.
high end. I quoted this transcription's not poor, this is a good transcription, because I did it.
Mhm.
And he said, I'd say you're looking at 3,500 to 4,000 for an appeal, of course, that's on the high end.
Right.
And I don't know, it's an estimate like Donna said, but it would have been due diligence on his part to come back and say,
I'm going
sometimes
over.
things run over, but hey,
Just like she said.
Or in the process?
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
So,
where did I leave
so
this?
your concern is not to put it on the special?
Because if we
Or
don't, and it's like, so let's say we have 2,500, we take that up, it's 6,200 left, right?
Mhm.
Even if he has that,
we need 3,000.
yeah. Like, I don't see a way that we're going to have enough, even if he reduces the bill. I don't think he's gonna say, sure, we're even for $500. I don't think he's even gonna say, sure, we're even for the remaining $2,500, which would be a total of 3,000 approximately,
I
right?
think we need to ask for some money for this.
I do. And I do, and also, I don't want that account to be at zero. I think that's not a great situation.
So this is the question then, because we can always amend on the floor when we know how the negotiations are going.
Right,
What the
right.
actual dollar value is.
But,
We asked
you know,
for
my
this.
hesitation of putting it on was to say, we don't really know an amount, but what we can do is we can come up with an amount. Why don't we just put the 6,200, and if we negotiate it down, we can reduce it on town meeting floor, and people,
And do we wanna have that account at zero, a third of the way into the fiscal year?
you really shouldn't,
That seems scary to me.
Well, it seems like there's litigation coming forward. So, I don't know how all that's gonna play out.
I don't know
well,
how
what
that's
if we,
gonna
what
play
if
out
we,
at all.
what if we do the 6,200 plus, a deductible for kind of a general claim, it's $500 or $500 deductible, $1,000 deductible,
So 7,500,
72.
72.
And then work on negotiating it to something that's fair with Jeremiah.
And if we titch it down on the floor, there's gonna be a lot less upset than if we titch it up, right?
Yeah,
Well, I don't even think it's gonna be upset. I think it's just,
Right.
people need to be told what's going
What's
on.
going on, yeah.
And speak to the truth. And
Yeah.
just say, what part of this is in anybody's hands but his.
Right, and that we don't wanna run the account to zero a third of the way through the fiscal year, that's scary.
so what we'll do is, if there's general consensus, we will put on a special town meeting warrant the difference between the remaining balance due to Jeremiah and the current amount of $2,500 plus an extra $1,000. That is the amount of some of the deductibles that we have.
Okay,
And that will be in the neighborhood of 72.
7,500, get around things up.
7,500.
I know, it's a nice round number, right? I'd rather have the extra $300.
Also, so we will have three things on the special town meeting warrant. We will have 7,500,
7,300,
7,300.
if you're rounding.
We will have 7,300 roughly, we'll have the exact number. We'll have the tree work, which is
29 plus.
29,580.
29,580, and we will have the unpaid bills from last fiscal year for $10,001.66. We will request all of them out of free cash. In the meanwhile, we will work on negotiating the legal bill down so that hopefully on the floor, we can reduce it to somewhere in the middle.
I got one more thing for the special town meeting, but it doesn't have a price tag, yay. So, okay, so with Tom's request, Tom Sawyer's request from the planning board, I went ahead and researched the issue of the zoning bylaw that is relevant to Camp Camon. So, here is the story. In 2009, there was a special town meeting in April that was accepted by the AG the same year that added the category camp recreational year-round to the zoning bylaws. Prior to that, in the 99 zoning bylaws, there was only camp summer. That bylaw, you can look it up, it's posted on the town website, that was approved, made it by permit only in the lakeshore and business districts. Somehow, and you cannot yet figure out how, the 2012 edition of the written zoning bylaws has camp recreational year-round as a Y in Lakeshore District means by right. Tom thought they must have approved something at the 2012 ATM or STM, no STM of any kind in 2012 had any zoning bylaw on it at all, never mind this. Okay, so according to Donna, after you pass it at the town meeting and you get it approved by the AG, you have to have some written version of it either published in the newspaper or a written document, like zoning bylaws. So far, we have not managed to locate either proof of an advertisement or a written version of the zoning bylaws somewhere in between the 1999 zoning bylaws and the 2012 written zoning bylaws. And this thing was approved in 2009, right? So there should have been another edition in between 2009 and 2012, but there wasn't. I don't even know who did the 2012 version or why it was done since there were no zoning bylaws done that year. But that's the piece that's missing. If we don't have that written documentation, which I haven't been able to locate, the planning board doesn't seem to have, I've got John Levin looking for it too. The only recourse we have to fix it is to vote on it again in an ATM and then do it properly. We can't just make it a clerical error unless we have a written version of zoning bylaws that has it in there correctly, which we do.
Can we make, could a new zoning bylaws document be made now with it in there?
Absolutely, we could literally take the 2009 one and just vote it in again. Or we
Oh, but
vote-
it does have to be voted again?
Yes, it has to be voted.
What's the time frame?
For what?
What's the time frame? Why couldn't the documentation be done now? It has to be done within a certain amount of time after the vote.
Because there's a 2012 document that has it differently.
Yeah.
Right, it's incorrect in the only written version we have.
She's saying that a written version has to be published after it's approved? I don't think we've ever done that.
There has to be some type of written documentation after its approval and acceptance by the AG, either publication in a newspaper
So where is
Or-
the AG's copy that they approved?
or the zoning bylaws. A version of the zoning bylaws available to the public, but the only version we have that postdates the 2009 change is the 2012 one, which has it in there incorrectly. So I cannot locate a written document with the correct rules that were passed at the 2009 April special town
So you're
meeting.
saying that in 2009 or 2010, there should have been a new set of bylaws written with that new
Something,
bylaw
yeah,
updated in it.
Yeah, and I don't know who
It got
wrote it,
omitted.
but it
It just
yeah,
slipped through.
exactly. There may have been one, but
So
nobody
12
has one.
So is 12 the same one as 9 now, as a Y?
2009, there is no version of the zoning bylaws. The special town meeting warrant
It
needed
said
it
nothing about camps.
by permit only,
Right,
by permit only,
so,
was what we passed.
yes.
But the written version of the zoning bylaw says it's by right, which it is not, because we never approved that. So it's incorrect. Does that make sense?
Why does it change the law just because it's written in 2012 that way?
Because the public didn't have access to it. I don't know, that's what she told me. I'll send you her, if you, with
That
her
would be good.
permission,
That'd be
I will
good.
send you, the email she sent me. But I don't, at this point, unless we can locate some type of written document, I don't see another option other than putting it on a warrant, and I'd like to get it done sooner rather than later. We could just put that 2009 STM warrant right back on and reapprove it that way, and then make the clerical change.
My only concern is that,
Grabowski, Melissa?
So I'm confused, so when I'm looking on the town website, the
Uh-huh.
April 2009 special town meeting minutes has on there that has the camp amendment, I'm not
Right,
not
right,
reading the
right.
whole thing right now, and
That's
then
fine,
also on the website is the AG's response
right,
approving.
right,
So
all
that
good.
would be-
But after that, we would have had to put it in some type of written document available to the public concerning the zoning bylaws. In other words, not just the meeting minutes.
what about the AG's response?
But
That's
I don't-
available
right,
to the
and that
public
would-
online.
It would have been
She
the
seems to be
2009.
implying we would have had to advertise it. I mean, that's what I understood
We've
from her.
never advertised once a bylaw gets.
Or put it in written zoning bylaws, but we don't have, the only written zoning bylaw document we have after that is 2012, which is wrong. Right, so I have the 1999 one that doesn't have it at all, and the 2012 one that has it incorrectly, and I cannot find anything in between. If you can, please help, I cannot find anything.
Well, the 2012 would have replaced the 2009.
But
But
it's
there
incorrectly
wasn't a
printed.
2009 edition of the zoning bylaws that I'm aware, there's only that special town meeting warrant, that's it. It was never, like, if you wanted
Wasn't
to
printed
build
each year.
something, right, if you wanted to build something, you weren't gonna go check the STM, right? You were gonna ask for a copy of the zoning bylaws.
Yep.
If you do that now, you see that it's by right, which it isn't. And if you did that in 2008, it didn't exist. And I don't know what happened between 2009 and 2012. In fact, I was in
When-
Australia, so I really don't know what happened.
Melissa, do you remember Muriel and Bob?
Yeah.
Lazzarini were so involved with this guy Grabowski?
Yeah, but I think that was in 2006.
So,
No, it was later too.
So,
So I'm just wondering
The
if perhaps this
2017
firm may have the information with that.
2017,
the 2017 version of the bylaws on here says that
it's by right. In the table of uses,
in the lake shore.
Yep.
Right.
but it isn't. Right.
According to the 2009.
The bylaw we passed makes it not by right, correct. Which is when that category was created, it didn't exist prior to that. So it came into existence in 2009 and it was in there always by permit only.
So you just need a draft version of the 2009? Like if I have a copy that if I can find like an email from, because I'm sure it was Maggie Leonard that was on there, where she sent something where it has it the right way, is that what you need?
Well, I don't know, we could run that by Donna.
I'm not sure I have.
So
but
far, I
I'm-
have nothing. So something would be
I
better
mean,
than
to show
nothing.
that the actual paper bylaw packet that we have is
That-
incorrectly printed.
That's correct, because if it was a clerical error, if we did put out something in 2009 that included that, then we can just fix it. But if we didn't, we have to start over, because the 2012 and 2017 ones that had it wrong would be our formal publicly available thing. If you ask for our zoning bylaws, that's what you get.
Well, then
And
have
it's
to
wrong.
put an addendum in with it, just like our code books.
Right,
They're
but what
printed
she's
once
telling
every
me
10
is we
years.
can't, we can't just clerically fix it.
So here's my thing, if it's not a clerical fix, my sense is that it should go to an annual town meeting.
Given that virtually every zoning change that I have looked at, and I looked at every annual and special town meeting from 2006 forward, pretty much every zoning change has been in a special town meeting,
Yeah.
some of them on the same day as the annual town meeting, I might add, which caused some confusion for me in several instances. So, while might in theory agree with you, the reality of history says that that's pretty much never happened once.
And it's because the planning board's calling these meetings,
I have no idea.
right? Because the planning board
Got it.
does zoning bylaws, right, Melissa?
Typically, yes.
So,
Some of them
so
have
should the
been
planning
from-
board be doing this?
He asked me to do it.
I
No.
would think so, yes, because they're the ones that have to send all the hearing notices for people to attend and see if they have any comments before it goes to town meeting. And they're also the ones that have to give us the draft and the clerk the draft to keep, for people to come and view if they want to.
So it's still, he wanted me to research it, but in the end, it would be on them. I have asked them again in another email correspondence today to see what they can find, if they can find a written one, perhaps in here. Theoretically, they're looking, John Levin is looking, you're looking.
So I have the draft of what they sent for changes.
When was this?
I would say the planning board is responsible, they're an active, efficient board at the moment, they have full membership for the first time in a while, and I think that they can handle this, and if they want us to deal with it in a certain way, you know, when it's our time, but,
So you think we just punt it down the road?
no, not punt it,
Well,
but
I'm just like,
you know,
you
tell-
think, right.
tell the planning board, this
they
is
need-
zoning
they-
bylaws, this is your responsibility. And like I said, they're a very active board with full membership, they've been meeting every other week very consistently, and I think that they can handle it.
Are we gonna, should I encourage them to try to get the process done in time for our special town meeting?
They should work on this.
Would that be possible given the hearing period?
So I'm just curious, if they have to like propose it as a new bylaw, yeah, there's no way they would make it for the.
That's kind of what I figured.
So
Okay.
they should do it maybe for a special at the same time as the
Time as the
annual, or
Okay.
something like that.
As an amendment. Because it's already passed.
I know.
We already have proof that it was
But
passed, not the AG.
it sounds like I don't really wanna speak to it, cause I don't know enough.
Alright,
Well,
it
I
does-
will,
it never got printed in our book,
apparently not,
so that's the difference.
unless somebody, if we can find it, then we can just fix it in the clerical error, but otherwise, we have to go forward the other one.
The AG has the copy of
We have a copy of it, but we never, what she's telling me is it has to have been in a document available to the public as a zoning rule.
So the clerk should have what she sent to the AG. The clerk would have had to send her the whole text.
Right, and the AG, to send the AG the whole text, you mean?
Right, so that would have been a public document available for viewing.
My impression from Donna was that that didn't count. I will send everybody who's interested Donna's response, and you look at it yourself.
Please, and let's also, you know, not punt it, but inform the planning board
Right.
that this is their responsibility.
it. That needs to be
Because,
front
the-
and center.
right, the select board can't even propose zoning bylaws, it has to be the planning board. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. You guys do general bylaws.
I know that the ZBA put forward a bunch of zoning bylaw changes a number of years ago.
But they did it with the planning board. The planning board held the
Okay.
hearings.
And there's a very strict procedure, they can't do what the select board does and go, yeah, we're gonna add
Okay.
that to the warrant.
So
Um,
I'll forward everything, I'll email them, but I'll CC,
Yeah, I'm very curious to know more about it, but it sounds like it's the planning board's responsibility. The next item is designate early voting hours for state election. I would move that we designate Saturday, October 29th from 9:30 AM to 1:30 PM as the early voting hours for,
October 29th, you said?
yes,
Okay,
at town hall as the early voting hours for the state election. And also any, normally scheduled town clerk office hours during the early voting period. Which has been happening
anyway,
anyway.
Do we have somebody willing to cover that shift on that Saturday, the 29th, as we have found today, that,
The communication's lacking.
well, no, just that,
yeah.
We wanna
without
make-
having Terry, it would've been nice if we could have talked to her about that while she was still here. But,
Is Terry-
in fact, Terry.
So are you still there?
Yeah.
Can we borrow you a minute?
What was the time that you said?
9:30 AM to 1:30 PM, that's 4 hours, right?
Yep.
I'm not losing it that much.
Despite lack of dinner? Maybe we should have donuts on the table.
No, we should not.
No. Whoa.
No.
One
I-
donut an hour and all of a sudden you have a dozen donuts. Terry, we're doing early voting hours. Do you know if you are available Saturday, October 29th from 9:30 AM to 1:30 PM? Because we have to do 4 weekend.
Oh, yes.
hours. And then you'll also hold them during your regularly scheduled office hours.
Friday.
Okay.
That week.
Sure.
Whatever is during the time period, because I think it's, what is it, 4 days to 11 days before the election?
It's Friday, October 22nd to Friday, November 4th for the state election.
And it ends on that Friday.
Yep, yep.
So you will hold them specifically on Saturday, October 29th from 9:30 AM to 1:30 PM, and also any of your regularly scheduled office hours during the early voting window.
Yes, but I don't know if we can hold them on the 29th because you can't hold them the Saturday before the election. When's
The
the
election's the following.
yeah,
in
that's-
November.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'll be here, yeah,
Okay,
that's
Awesome.
fine. That's
All right.
fine.
That was
that's the motion. Is there any further discussion or comment? There being none, we'll call a vote.
Yes.
Yes, so motion carries. That's our early voting hours. Early voting will take place at Town Hall on Saturday, October 29th from 9:30 AM to 1:30 PM, as well as the town clerk's regularly scheduled office hours during the early voting period. That will be posted on the town website. Item number 6, review executive session minutes to determine if disclosure is appropriate.
No, it is not appropriate at this time, considering there's still lawsuits and litigation going on between said parties.
Okay,
That's my opinion anyway.
I'm okay with
And
it.
you asked me for my
Yeah.
opinion.
We did.
So. I'm just trying to wrap my head around it, cause my sense was that we should release, those 3 sets of minutes from the 2021. But it's not strongly there, I don't see it as a black and white issue.
I just,
It
I
says
thought
when
that
it matters,
anything that's, I mean, I'm not a lawyer, as you can tell, but I think our lawyer would hesitate us to remove those right now after what we were just served last week. There's still parties involved in these minutes that are still involved in these next minutes that it just seems a little too preemptive to just say, okay, everything can go on the table right now.
yeah, and
That's
so,
just my opinion.
so what,
You guys voted out, like, whatever.
so this was the recommendation.
And I wasn't here for these minutes, so I'm just reading them as like a third and as a master.
So, well, this was the test that she said, right? The Division of Open Government considers the need to preserve the confidentiality of executive session minutes to be over when a matter is considered by the public body to be closed. So is the matter closed? I guess
Well,
it
number
depends on
one,
what you
that's
see
a
the
good
matter
question,
is.
because I don't know how many of those complaints are open or not open. Are any of them still open, or are none of them open? Have they been rectified? Was your complaint against Melissa ever closed, finalized? Is Melissa's complaint against Ms. Walker and Walker's things against them? I mean, it's still wide open here, isn't it? Is there a pin drop?
It's, I mean,
It's
it's,
not listed in there,
Yeah.
so I can't comment.
yeah, I mean, it's a hard,
Well, it isn't that hard. You just say, okay, let it fly for a few more weeks, figure out where we're going.
Okay.
I mean, I don't see the grand hurry to expose this.
no, what happened was,
If
You
you
know.
saw a reason that I'm not, let me know.
no, I mean, it's hard to say what exactly the matter was, and depending on what the matter was, decides whether or not it's closed. Right?
Well, without going into an
Yeah.
executive session, you can't discuss
Yeah.
the executive session.
So,
So that was my opinion.
Yeah.
And I was tasked with giving my opinion on whether they should be released at this moment or held.
And the reason we were doing this is just, we're supposed to periodically review. Well, actually, there was some
Well, we did read.
confusion because we thought at one point that we had already agreed to release these, and we realized we hadn't already agreed to release these, and we're doing a periodic review.
I
And,
don't think it'll do any harm, we periodically reviewed it,
Yeah.
we decided to leave it a while longer, and we'll come back and review it again.
that works for me.
Okay.
The next is the draft anti-discrimination harassment policy. So I did have a couple questions, mostly about the complaint procedure. I know someone had mentioned the timeline last week. I also thought it should be more clearly laid out, this interaction between the HR director who is doing the investigation and then the select board, because the select board needs to invite, if it's considering potential discipline of an employee, it needs to invite that employee to any executive sessions at which their discipline is considered. We're legally required to notice them and invite them to it, right? And they have the right to attend, they have all the rights.
So where are we in this document that we're?
Complaint procedure. And my fear, or not fear, but my revisions to this would be to more clearly lay out that fine, the HR director can complete the investigation, can do the interviews, and then report back to the select board. But the select board cannot just, it says this, the select board will review the investigative report and any statements submitted by the complainant or respondent, discuss results of the investigation with the HR director and other management staff as appropriate, and decide what if action, if any, will be taken.
What number are you on?
7.
Oh, no wonder.
So this is the thing, is we can't discuss potential discipline of an employee, at least as at a real meeting with the three of us where we can do real things with the HR director or other management staff without also inviting the employee, because that's the employee's right, who may be subject to discipline. And at the very least, that should be laid out more clearly.
So, I'm just trying to get straight in my head what this would involve. So somebody makes a complaint, one employee makes a complaint against another employee, the HR director investigates it. And then submits it to us. But for us to actually act on it, we then have to have everyone in the room or just the person against who there's a claim?
So,
We can't even discuss whether we wanna act on it or how we might wanna act on it without them
you
present.
cannot deliberate on discipline of an employee
Right,
without noticing them properly
right, so,
and inviting them to the meeting. They have the right to be present for any time the select board deliberates on.
what if
potential
this
discipline.
finding was that there wasn't a problem? Do we have to notice that too? Or do we only have to notice if we're going to send?
Well, there's no way to know, right? Because
Right,
select
there's
boards
no-
can't deliberate outside of meetings, whether open
Right.
meetings or executive sessions.
But we wouldn't have to executive session in that case, if there wasn't a finding of a problem.
I think you're correct.
No, I mean, yeah, if the HR director says this has been resolved, no action by the select board is necessary, and the select board agrees, and no member decides to call up such a meeting
Then we're good.
for
But
potential
otherwise,
discipline.
right,
But that needs to be laid out more clearly here, and that's, I mean, it's tricky. What you have is the HR director doing the initial interviews, gathering information, and making a recommendation to the select board. But the point I wanted to make is, the select board can't then meet with the HR director and discuss discipline of John Doe, because John
Right.
Doe has the right to
to be
be there.
there. No, I totally got you, I was just trying to make sure I understood all the
Just think
circumstances
7
by which.
just needs more verbiage
Yep,
Yeah, I,
to insert that employee or however you want to.
so the select board will post and it will respond by posting an I'm just thinking out loud here, posting an executive session
With the HR director and said.
and employees of record or employees involved employees or something like that.
Not the
I mean, I don't have to word it
Yeah.
perfectly right this second, I'm just saying, is that what we'd be going for?
well, I just wanna make sure that this document reflects what the select board is ultimately going to
Good.
be legally required to do.
I totally agree with you. The only thing that, this is gonna sound wacky, but do you ever worry that people would be like, it's so unpleasant to have to go into an executive session meeting with the select board that I just won't file a complaint?
It's possible, but that's your
But that's-
prerogative.
yeah, that's right, and there's not another legal way we can do it, so end of story, right?
It's not like we're in here with lions and
I know.
tigers.
Ah,
Oh my.
Yeah,
okay,
so I would make a move that we ask council to rethink paragraph 7 to Justin's concerns.
or HR, it's HR that drafted
Yeah,
it.
if it's all right with you,
Well,
I will work with,
HR should,
Do you wanna work with Sophia?
I
to see
will
if
work
we
with
can come up
Sophia
Sounds great,
and Donna
okay,
on
Good
this
idea.
to get it right.
she's the one who should get the writing.
Because here's the deal.
we can't be the only town that has to deal with this.
Well,
But there's stock language and it doesn't tend to involve it.
And the other thing is the complaint procedure is the one thing that's really unique to our town, because the rest is pretty standard
Why is it
language,
unique?
I believe. Well, because basically there's generally accepted standards of what constitutes sexual harassment, what constitutes retaliation, but then depending on your organizational structure.
It's not that no other town has an issue, it's
Right.
that it has to be tailored for your own town.
Gary Shaw?
I've got a question.
Yes.
What if, employee A and B have an issue, the HR person investigates, determines there's nothing? Okay, lets the select board know. That does not satisfy employee A.
So
What happens?
So there's a couple, so anything, based on this policy, if it ends up being anything like it's currently drafted, the HR director makes a recommendation, so.
Mhm. Right, so then the select board says, based on that recommendation, nothing is gonna be done.
Now, somebody always has the right to file
I'm
a
just saying
complaint
that
with the state or to
you're-
file a complaint with the police or what have
Yeah.
you. But and that happens in lots of organizations, not just towns.
Okay,
Right? I mean, you have to do your best to investigate something, and if in the end, the evidence doesn't support censuring anybody, that's what you got.
mhm.
But that employee still has the right to further their
They
complaint.
they always had that right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
They always had that right. We can't take that away from them, and I wouldn't suggest it, but I'm just saying, it's always there and it never got taken away. But-
Well, it says that if it's inconclusive or it's determined that there's been no violation policy but potentially problematic conduct may have occurred, the select board may recommend appropriate preventive action. But it doesn't answer your concern
No.
about how,
I just, it was,
how an employee that felt like something took place against them,
and they weren't heard.
or
what
they
happened.
were heard, but they still filed, it was,
Or they were heard and, there wasn't a,
Dismissed.
heard and dismissed.
Or if there wasn't
whatever.
enough evidence, or
Yeah.
there wasn't, I mean,
Whatever, okay,
I do need to use the restroom, I'm sorry.
you're allowed.
put that on the record that
The video will show.
the chair,
Poor guy.
until he's 65.
I'm glad I had a snack before I came here. Well, when you let things go for that many months, you're gonna end up with a long meeting.
Was anything? So the time I don't know, how much
Some of this-
I can see nothing.
That's very
You think?
I did.
I can get through. But we do need a solid discrimination policy.
Absolutely, that's.
I think some of these things can be moved to next week, though. We should probably do the appointments.
Done. I agree with them all.
Did you call any of Lori's people?
No. I didn't call anybody else either. But me,
Hey, she's gonna be our secretary. I called her.
did you?
Yeah.
Good for you. I kinda felt. I wasn't certain that any of it was gonna make any difference.
Well, when he's in here and we bring it up, I'll tell you what I heard, and then you can decide if you think it would make a difference. Ooh. No, it was really good. That's a difference to me. Like, I don't think only bad things should make a difference, right?
Oh, absolutely not.
Yeah.
That
If
is.
someone has a lot of good things to say, I think that
I
matters.
felt nothing but,
Yeah,
appreciation for her sitting here and wanting to come into this.
I know. But I
Whatever
personally
it is.
don't mind hearing happy things. I like it. Bring it on.
Sorry.
That's okay. So, number 7 is you're gonna work with Sophia to try to draft some language around that one, and with Donna.
Yes,
Okay, sounds good.
that's the draft policy.
I'm gonna move that we postpone items 8, Mr. Sorry, Melissa, and office coverage during vacation. And do we actually have any active things under neighbor concerns about Camp Kamala?
No, but I think that I wanna touch base with you guys briefly.
To go, and I talked to Abby a couple times too, so I'm happy to share that. Levine, I believe her name is.
So I guess-
She's the camp director.
Okay, so my question at this point is how, I know we want to, we're gonna research what's available to us and how we wanna proceed. Does someone in particular wanna take that on? Because I think it's good to make someone
Task it out.
responsible.
I've been talking to Don and Sean.
Tarico and.
Sean
Tryon.
Trico and Sean Tryon is fire chief and building inspector, and I've talked to Abby Levine, who's the camp director. Ultimately, I mean, I'm happy to share any of that information with you, I'm eager to. Ultimately, I do think we're gonna end up needing to either meet with someone from the camp and or write a letter to them. There were some substantive issues, as of my last conversation with Don, they actually never finalized their building permits for the building they actually did. Yeah, okay.
Oops.
Yep, oops, and, I need to talk to Sean next week about some of the issues that arose as with fire inspections. There's the concern of the posting you sent. The Facebook page, was it, or no, it's, you sent it to me. Remember that they said that he had posted somewhere that he was talking about.
Oh,
year
I
round.
forwarded it,
I
yeah.
think Mary Reagan Strike
Right,
sent that to us.
Something burning? You guys don't smell something burning?
I do.
No,
Anybody else? She's gonna start courting her.
no,
You look for
one way
that.
to get out of these meetings.
Yeah,
Yeah, but it was Justin, what did you do?
Yeah,
So-
the only one who left the room.
So it's my concern about the zoning bylaw.
The what saying?
They're talking about going year round, hence my concern. I immediately went to the zoning rules and I was like, what? Right, so that's what prompted me to do that. So I think at the very least, there are some substantive concerns about how they operated this year that have to do with things the town does control. Like health, apparently the health inspections were okay, I also talked to the health inspector. So, but those are issues we could raise with them.
So you're gonna be the point person on this?
Absolutely, and I will also note that the bylaw committee, the one thing they are thinking of drafting or working on drafting is a noise ordinance, which is, everybody agrees, difficult and hard to enforce, but possibly necessary, because as it stands, the only option the town has through the police is a felony disturbing the peace.
It could be a misdemeanor.
Apparently it's not.
Okay.
I'm
I'm not, yeah, I wouldn't.
I don't know.
I wouldn't.
I don't know either, but that's what.
So here's what I'll do. If there's no objection, we will table to next week, 8
Okay.
and 9, and we just discussed 10. There's no
And I
objection.
will, and I agree.
And you will be the point
Take
person on
on
10,
being point person.
and update us as you go.
I will try and write up something for next week, that you guys will have something written instead of just my verbal. New
business, we dealt with number 11, thank you again to the Friends of the Library for the donation. Number 12 is appointment to vacant finance committee seat. Recommendation from the finance committee, Roger Tryon and Eileen Marcus. So we do have Frank Abbott here from the finance committee, and Michelle Miller wrote us a note, which I will read. Greetings, I'm ready to confirm our recommendations to the select board at our joint meeting of Tuesday as drawn from the recording of that meeting. We discussed the high quality of the candidates and their various qualifications. In conclusion, Roger Tryon and Eileen Marcus were recommended to you for their ability to work in a positive way to further the town's priorities. Mr. Tryon brings a lifetime of knowledge and understanding of Monterey, as well as a self-described conservative fiscal outlook. He has served as tree warden on the planning board and has hands-on experience to inform his point of view. Ms. Marcus has a strong resume and a record of service on the transfer station and council on aging. She has innovative ideas and a strong financial understanding. Thank you for including us in this process. Michelle Miller.
Question,
Yes.
how many of these people are they requesting we appoint?
One.
One
We
of
have
them.
one vacancy.
They're just saying they're okay. My understanding is that they're okay with either of those people. Would that be how you characterize that?
That's a fair.
Yes.
Yes.
That's what we got.
I would move to appoint Eileen Marcus to the finance committee.
I'll second.
I think that she, her resume is just freaking tight. It's great.
I personally think that Roger is more suited for the role, given his longer tenure and familiarity with the equipment, which is a lot of, the finance committee is capital planning. And he's familiar with the heavy equipment that it becomes a lot of the capital planning. I think Roger's more suited for the seat, and I think, Eileen certainly brings the background from being involved in many organizations with financial planning, but I just think that Roger's experience in the town and his familiarity with equipment and roads and construction is more suited for the work of the finance committee.
I totally see your point, and that's an aspect I hadn't really considered. My concern is that I think, that is a significant part of the capital plan, but I also think there are aspects to, thoughtful, long-term financial planning in terms of how different ways you can deal with the money and what it means to borrow money and, what options we have along those lines, cause, we have things like the library. It's not like a non-issue if we wanna, I don't know how we will choose to pay for work that might need to be done on this building. There's other things on the capital plan, for which that broader financial experience and analytical skills might play a really important and critical part.
Well, I don't know that Roger doesn't have a broad financial experience, because as he mentioned in his appointment form to us, he does agriculture, landscape excavation, and rental real estate in Monterey, right? And rental, that is the wide, as far as I'm concerned, he has a hay business, excavating, trying stonework, and rental real estate property. And he's just so familiar with the town, and to have the adaptability to go between careers and, adapt to as times change and seasons change. He's, I don't know, I'm not trying to say he's.
Are you concerned about any potential conflicts within the town as a result?
In the sense, like, if Roger were to, contract for the town, yeah, he wouldn't be contracted for the town if he's on the finance committee.
Is he now? I mean, has he recently? I don't know. That's a
I
question.
don't think so.
I do see a hand up online. I will recognize R.
Sorry, I just want to make one comment.
as being on the finance committee before, the finance committee has no jurisdiction on how money is raised in town based on if they borrow, they go bonds, they can recommend, but all they do responsible for is the budget. And the other thing is Roger put his name out there to run last time. And usually, I believe in the past, when someone resigned, the person who was running against the last person who ran, who lost, or got the next votes, usually was appointed. But I think he put his name out there, and and that he should get it because I mean. It has nothing to do with long-range plan, as I learned, because I didn't realize that either, but Finance Committee only does the budget. And so it has nothing to, as much as she can help you guys out with how you want to borrow, or lend, borrow the money, but it has nothing to do with in the Finance Committee. So they basically just do budgeting, unfortunately.
Ridiculous.
I do think, Eileen certainly has a resume of being involved in finances, but I think, Roger, has as much experience in Monterey as nearly everybody, and the financial background that he has is not lacking in any way, I don't think, in the depth and variety of different things that he's done. And then again, the familiarity with the equipment that we're gonna be
It's hard to
purchasing,
deny.
and his willingness to put his name forward at the election.
That part doesn't sway me as much as it might, but I see your point, and willingness toward service, certainly, we know that he is, right? He's served in many capacities over the years in town. I guess I was seeing it as an opportunity to get a little bit of new blood and maybe some new ways of looking at things.
There is, we're gonna call a vote on Scott's motion to appoint Eileen Marcus to the Finance Committee. You didn't make that motion?
I made that motion.
Where do you stand? Is the question, pardon?
I made the motion.
Yeah.
It's a motion that's still standing on the floor.
Right.
Yeah,
So
and
I
I'm
think
calling a
He's
vote
calling the
on it.
question, so he's calling a vote.
Well.
Did somebody second it?
Seconded it.
Oh, I seconded it right there.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's why we're having a conversation.
Well, I'm gonna vote for Eileen.
All right, I'm gonna vote for Ellen too.
I'll vote no. So Eileen Marcus is the motion carries, and Eileen Marcus is appointed to the Finance Committee for the remainder, until the next election, which is likely May 2023. Congratulations, and thank you for
Yes,
volunteering to the town.
Eight months of this position.
The next, agenda item is Conservation Commission appointment, Tim Lovett. I believe he's looking to be appointed for 3 months.
Just through December 31st.
Oh, he's just stepping into.
Just minutes, but I could talk him into that.
Right, gotcha.
So I would move to appoint Tim Lovett through
Second.
December 31st, 2022 to the Conservation Commission. There's a second. Is there any further discussion or public comment?
Thank you, Tim. That's my public comment.
There will be, I'll call a vote on the motion.
Yes.
Susan, yes?
Yeah.
Yes, and Justin, yes, and Tim Lovett, will be appointed to the Conservation Commission through December 31st, 2022. Thank you, Tim. The next item on the agenda is Select Board Secretary. So we interviewed Lori last week.
I actually called all three of her references and just wanted, did you get a chance to talk to them?
I did not.
Okay, and they were all positive. The Otis Ridge supervisor, who, she's worked there 4 or 5 years, actually, the supervisor didn't know if it was 4 or 5 years, so that's why I was prevaricating there. Said she will hire again this year, she absolutely loves her. I have quotes to share with you, because they were pretty glowing. Reliable and prompt, responsible, very good at dealing with customers, willing to fill in, no negatives. I don't think it gets a lot better than that. By the way, I was concerned, because when I first called her, she said she had to have written permission from Lori before she could talk to me, and I thought, oh. But no, that's what I got when I got permission, so there you go. So I
Did we have a draft offer letter?
I do, I just need the date.
Yes. So when, Sophia and Melissa and I, mostly Sophia and Melissa, and then I didn't really help. But, Sophia and Melissa drafted an offer letter.
Okay.
Right? And we're asking when the start date should be, and I said something about, what do we think?
how about as soon as,
Would it be Monday,
Why don't we ask her?
Monday the 26th?
So this is one of the problems that we have.
right,
We assume.
right, I agree.
Let's go right to the horse's mouth and say, when can you start for us?
And maybe
And
a
then-
call to her to ask when she can start, and then we
Yeah.
put that date in.
Go to the
Is there any
source,
reason not to?
'cause that's where the truth lies.
No, there's no reason not to. How could we word it in the offer letter?
But could we
Please.
call her and then put that date in?
Call her right now?
Well, or Sophia can call her, or Melissa can call her and say, hey, the select board would like to appoint you. When can you start, so I can put that in a letter?
Well, and part of the offer letter is we don't know that she's going to accept it.
Right.
Right,
So, yes, we are opening the communication.
Or how
We're not
about-
assuming.
we would like
Fine,
to
that's-
appoint you,
that's
please
what we have to
contact
do.
us about your potential start date.
Or with the start date as soon as possible?
Yeah, we
Well,
would,
we can-
we would like it started as soon as
Give
possible.
a date that
Please
we
con-
would say that
Well, we
would
can
work
just say,
for
please
us.
contact us,
Yeah.
what date would be feasible, if you
Exactly.
choose to accept our offer.
Yes.
She could say no.
Can you please, do you have it pulled up right now, Melissa? Can you please write, please let us, please contact us regarding a start date that works for you?
Regarding the offer,
Right,
Yeah, well, that's true, because we don't.
Right.
exactly, please contact us about whether
about
you,
whether you're gonna accept
would
the
like
offer
to
and when you
accept,
could start.
and when you could start.
Yeah.
We can even say, the sooner the better from our perspective, but I guess that's
So
not
do
what.
we need to vote on that?
Let's see that, can we get that off?
Then that, we gotta take it, because we're telling her to go get sworn in, and if she's not,
Well, how does this usually work?
how I wrote it to you, that was a
So we
previous
just
letter.
assume they're gonna accept it, which is not a bad thing, because if they don't, they don't.
Right,
But we'll just assume and say, please get sworn in, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
and please.
So instead of saying, let us know, because if the answer is no, then
Right,
it's
right.
fine. But please let us know a start date that works for you.
Yeah, and you need to follow these protocols. Get it sworn in.
Right, I think that's in the letter
Yeah,
elsewhere.
yeah,
So how about if I add the last one is to get sworn in and see town administrator Melissa know to get the necessary new hire paperwork, and discuss your start date.
That works. Yay,
yeah.
this is what happens when you're trying to make decisions without dinner.
So
Okay.
you do need to make a motion to hire her first.
But do we do that before she said yes?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, I would move to appoint Lori Macarthur as select board secretary for 3 months probationary.
Second,
Is there any further discussion or public comment on the motion? There being none, we'll call a vote on the motion to appoint Lori Macarthur select board secretary for a 3-month probationary period.
yes,
Scott?
It's not just for the 3-month probationary period. It's that there
Yeah,
is
hire
a
her
3-month
with a 3-month
probationary
probationary,
period
yeah.
involved in her,
Amended.
in her hiring. It's not just for those 3 months. It's just,
Okay,
Reword it.
what we're gonna do is vote on the motion,
no,
and I'll vote no on the motion.
Yeah.
Motion fails. I'm gonna
right?
make a motion to appoint,
now, you told me to vote no, but I was going to anyway. Just for clarity, just so people aren't like, oh, yeah, go with it.
I'm sorry, I politely asked.
Correct, it's okay.
Anyway, you think?
I'm gonna make a motion to appoint Lori Macarthur as a select board secretary with a 3-month probationary period, and we are offering $18 an hour for up to 6 hours per week.
Okay.
Second.
Is there any further discussion or comment, public comment on the motion? There being none, I will call a vote. Susan?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Justin, yes.
Alright, yay. By the way, based on our earlier discussion today with the clerk, following a meeting where we do appointments, as her direct report, would you like to send her an email updating her regarding who's been appointed?
Yes.
So she can upkeep her list?
Yes.
Excellent.
She'll do
So
that.
she's copied on all the appointment letters,
Is she?
yes.
Good to know.
Always has been.
Always has been, I always give
So
her.
she has been informed.
Okay.
How does she receive those? Through the intermail list?
Some of them are via email, if the person has an email address, and I'm sending it, I CC her on it, and if they don't have an email, then she gets a paper copy of it.
Okay.
Then-
Do we need to address the question of whether she's looking at emails she gets from the town administrator? Because if part of the issue is that she's not even
Yes, we
looking
should
at
make
those
certain
emails.
that part of that conversation today was acceptance of emails and sending emails back
And I
and
think
forth.
we need to follow that up because otherwise
Yeah.
information is getting lost.
So you should probably just go in there and talk to her and make certain that
I'm
she's accepting emails from Melissa on these
I think it
appointments.
needs to also be in writing, please, because otherwise it didn't happen.
Yeah, it could be.
The next,
Fire department.
One second.
Page 1 of 4.
So- the item number 15, fire department appointments. I would move that we appoint Austin Mosca and Brian Budak as indefinite appointments to the fire department.
Second.
Is there any discussion or comment on that? There being none, I'll call a vote. Susan?
Yep.
Scott?
Yes,
Justin, yes. Motion carries, and we have 2 new
number,
fire
great.
department.
Yay.
You look right downtown. So that's good.
Do we need to send something out to, like, everybody that's appropriate to just say, if you know, this is who? Does the fire chief need to update his list of who's actually serving?
He does that with me.
He does, okay, sounds good. Is there anybody else that needs to update their list?
So update, well, I give you the appointment list in June.
Right. Okay,
But indefinite appointments, how do they get removed?
So, yeah, Sean comes in and goes over it with me, and
But I guess what we're trying to say is we need
system.
a system to,
does this go back to the swearing in and stuff? Cause I
Just trying to reduce the amount of things that fall through the cracks. So yeah, not just swearing in, but if somebody has been sworn in and is an indefinite appointment and then exits in some way, how is that ever recorded? So we have a process for the fire department, but what about other people?
So I guess the first question would be, and I think I brought up this issue with you, is that can we find out who actually needs to be sworn in? Because an issue was raised to me that there are some fire department members and some highway department members that have not been sworn in because they are not comfortable coming into that office.
But the other part of that issue would be, do they even need to be sworn in?
Right,
Why
so
would
that's,
you
I think
swear
if we
in
could
a-
figure out that first, we
highway
may not need
department
to
member?
have all these lists.
I don't know, I did it for the oath of office, but that's an elected position
Exactly.
versus, I don't know, I don't remember having them be sworn in.
I understood
Or-
why for the Board of Appeals, because you're a pseudo judiciary body. And
Yeah,
also,
or the
we were
ZBA.
elected, we were also elected, right, so,
But that's just,
Employees can't get sworn in.
it's weird, right?
Yeah, that doesn't
They would
sound
get
right.
it.
Can you confirm that with
Appointed or-
council first, like who
Hired.
actually needs to get
so,
sworn in?
okay, and it's like the same question as who needs to be appointed formally. And the problem is, right, if you don't appoint someone or don't swear someone in that's supposed to be, that's a much bigger problem than if you appoint people and swear people in that don't need to be.
well, how do we get that?
I'm not saying we shouldn't know, I'm just saying let's err on the side of doing the
Caution until we do
formalities,
know?
doing the formalities,
But what if that formality is just not
Unnecessary.
necessary?
oh, it may well be,
Step.
and maybe we can figure it out, but like, for instance, when
Who
it
would
came
answer
up,
that question?
so so when it came up with appointments, just as an example, right? We asked Donna at the time,
I think we've asked all of our attorneys.
we probably asked all of our attorneys,
Yeah.
who needs to be appointed, who doesn't. The problem is the way that you do it, there's no easy list. So it says, in the part of Mass General Law where it says you have an inspector of wires, it says more or less whether that person needs to be appointed, whether the town is legally required to have one, X, Y, and Z. What needs to be done is the work of going through and checking each position. We're not going to, unless the board wants to, ask the lawyer to do that because that's a lot of money to basically go through Mass General Law. But if we were to do it, we might mess up. So it is one of those things where we ultimately decided, at least a couple times I've been involved in the conversation, we're just going to appoint, we're gonna appoint more than less. Because if we don't appoint someone who's supposed to be appointed, that's a problem. If we appoint someone who doesn't need to be appointed, that's not really a problem, other than the inconvenience
Of doing it.
of doing it.
And the swearing in, the same thing.
Well, but so I use, so if you decide just to err on the side of caution, so let's take the fire department, for example, and you appoint all of them. And let's say they don't come down here and get sworn in, but they're supposed to, does that then fall on to Terry to keep a list and keep on them that they haven't been sworn in, and should they be performing their duty if they haven't been
So
sworn in?
it's my understanding, we were talking about this earlier, but it's my understanding that towns, we are not the only town that appoints people who don't get sworn in and elects people that don't get sworn in. And it's not right, but the realistic enforcement possibilities are limited.
One thing we could do, and I tried to do this with the select board and it didn't happen, would be that we could have occasional events where anybody who's not sworn in could be sworn in at a public meeting. Why not?
Yeah, but if you're an elected official, you have to be sworn in.
No,
to
it
legally-
wouldn't work for everybody, but I was thinking like for the fire department, and it seems
That's why I
really
think it makes
strange
more
to me
sense
that
to
the
find out
highway department
If you
needs to.
have to be sworn in or not.
But
why
we
do you
have
think-
that guidance, right? We have that guidance on appointments, but no one's ever done, including myself, no one's ever done the work to read through for each position and figure it out.
Well, some aren't listed.
And
Any that aren't listed aren't
Right.
required, right?
Okay.
But who's gonna go through,
And make sure that they're
look, it'd be great if someone is willing to do that. But we have the legal guidance we need on that, right? We all have that email somewhere, we can share it with Scott, if you don't have it.
I don't think I have.
I think this might have preceded me.
I don't think it does, cause we got it most recently from Donna, no? It comes up, it comes up once and again,
Okay.
but basically the point being,
I'll look for-
you don't need to appoint people if they're not required to be appointed by Mass General Law. But the only way to figure that out is to go through meticulously for each position, there's no, here's the list of people who need to be appointed.
Yeah, because it's a very.
And it's just a big time sink for not very much gain.
Which reminds me, I found someone I think is willing to serve as an ADA coordinator, but we're following.
Okay. That's great news.
Um,
Thanks for keeping on looking.
the next, okay, that's fire
Did
department
we
appointments.
come up with a plan for what to do with the people who, I don't think the people in the highway department need to be sworn in. That strikes me as strange. They're just employees.
Nobody's just employees.
My point is, they're not serving the town in a way that I think they need to be sworn in, but what do I know? But if they do, and they're not, what are we going to do to get them sworn in?
We're going to do, I'm not sworn into two things that I'm serving on yet. What are we gonna do to me?
No, not to, like, how do we fix it? You see her every week, you don't have an excuse.
Well, it's because the parade committee, doesn't meet this month.
Right.
But,
Yeah, sworn in on a parade committee?
Come on,
This
really.
place has changed too much.
I mean, honestly.
Can I make a motion that we move this
Yeah,
subject to next week?
Okay.
yeah, if someone wants to add it to the agenda next week, please do.
No
Oh,
problem.
I don't think I want to add it.
I can't wait to see it again. Alright.
Town administrator items.
So I don't know if I wanna bring this up tonight, but, Sophia and I have been talking, I used to hold the department, roundtables with the department heads. They were, kind of attended, but it wasn't mandatory. And her and I would like to reinstitute them with her and I together, but we want to make them mandatory, but we don't wanna do that without running
So
it
what
by
does a
you.
round table consist of?
So, bringing up, various topics and meeting with all the department heads. It may not be a convenient time for everybody, and we're talking about maybe like a 4 o'clock on a Wednesday, so since she's here. But we want everybody to attend.
I like the idea of roundtables. I have seen come through the mailbox on at least one occasion, good things that have happened there with coordination between departments. I don't think that we should make them mandatory, because forcing people to be at meetings like that they don't wanna be at is almost as bad or worse than them saying, I have a busy week and I need to do, I have this task I need to do for the job, and they may have so many hours.
It is, but we're thinking if it's not and people don't attend, then, like, I don't know who to use as an example, the library, if the library refuses to attend, then we're not getting updates and we're not, working as a team and that kind of stuff.
So the idea is all department heads?
Yeah.
Can we table this to next week?
Yes,
When
that's
my
why I
blood
said I
sugar's
would.
not so
So you
low.
start
Right,
thinking about it.
Yeah.
Berkshire Regional Planning Commission contract, you guys have a copy there, it's just so that they can, they're gonna be the administrators of the second phase of the MVP.
Is there an original we need to sign?
I think, you can sign one of them, I will put the signature page that you sign with the original
Okay.
that I have in the office.
So my one question.
Yeah.
So this 23,220, that is part of the second phase of grant award?
Yeah.
So were we always planning on them administering the grant, or?
They have been up to date.
Okay, alright, I was just curious. Alright, I would move that we approve, or I would move that we accept the agreement by and between the town of Monterey and the Berkshire Regional Planning Commission on this 21st day of September 2022, for them to administer the second phase of the Municipal Vulnerability Program grant.
Second.
Is there any discussion or public comment? I'll call a vote on the motion. Susan,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
and Justin, yes. So the motion carries, and we do accept this agreement. There's one signature, Scott, I believe. Melissa, is that correct?
You wanna just sign it?
And then I gotta put,
So while you're signing that, the email migration ended up taking place a day earlier than I thought it was supposed to, or than we were told. So far I've heard from most everybody, it seems to have gone really well. There's a few
Mine was
little
okay.
kinks, like I had to change Justin's name, and I'm actually changing it for a couple other people, because it came across weird like that as well, but.
What did yours do?
The display name came across as like Justin.
Justin, and then where the @ symbol is in email, it's just justinspacemontereyma.gov. That's how everyone was appearing in mine. It's not a big deal.
Okay.
I kinda liked how old looking the other one felt.
Yes.
I like the other one a lot better, but maybe we'll get used to it.
Well, I already feel myself making the emails much more informal, just because I have the thing once.
That might not be a terrible thing, I don't know, you go either way, alright.
So the next item, I just want to thank the clerk's office for returning the missing item that was reported last week. I would also like the board to address, I understand there was some emails accusing me of accusing people of stealing, and having gone back and listened to the tape, that was never said, never intended. I appreciate that the item that was missing was returned.
I think it's an unfortunate miscommunication, and we are trying to improve all communications so that,
I appreciate that.
we
So
deal
there's
with
fewer
items
of those
without
issues.
exaggerating
Right.
without exaggerating them. Okay.
And then the last one is Jim has a reimbursement request, for the Winter Recovery Assistance Program funds for $27,774.70.
And that's just for line painting.
For line painting,
I
yes.
would, and we have to support this.
Yeah, you basically just are approving the request for reimbursement, the accountant is also gonna sign it.
Yeah. I would move that the board approve the request by Jim Hunt, Director of Operations, for $27,774 for line painting in the Winter Recovery Assistance Program reimbursement request.
Second.
Is there any discussion or public comment? I'll call a vote. Susan?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Justin, yes, and motion carries.
Don't take money from the state, why don't you do that? Okay, Ruby signs.
And they're all, that money's also for fog sealing and then crack sealing, right?
Yeah, so we
What
need
is
a few more
fog
bills.
sealing?
Have you driven on New Marlboro Road this year?
Yeah.
But what does it do, is
What is
my question. I saw the stuff, but I didn't know what it was to do. I think it's to is it reducing the reflectance, so you're being.
It's not reducing,
No.
it's got like little, over time, Jim was telling us, it fills in the gravel. So like, you get little pinholes, you get water, freezes and that,
Okay, gotcha.
so the idea is to extend the life of the road.
Road, okay.
And Jim has said before, and I think he may have included recently an email, that he has a computer program that includes all the paved roads in Monterey and any information that we have about them, that the program will accept, like how old they are, if they've been resurfaced, what kind of work's been on them. And the program helps him make decisions as to what roads to fog seal or crack seal or mill the top layer of or completely redo in ways that economically make sense.
Yeah, it gives a grade to the road and a score, so and a rating as to where it falls in needing, like, Designate. Just minor repairs. I can show it to anybody if you guys want to see.
It's really cool,
But
actually.
it is pretty cool.
Speaking of, well, we'll have West Road on our agenda for next week.
That's a good idea.
If you drive on 57 there, take a drive up, it's interesting.
So just, so again, so you know, I did respond to Nancy Marcus, and I just wanna get the guy's name right. So Sean Tucker, was the name of the fellow that Nancy gave me, who sold most of those people their property and owns the property at the top of West Road, though he does not live there, and he is not a Monterey resident. He lives in New Marlboro. So I spoke to him about it after Nancy raised the issue, and I've spoken to Jim, we should all go look at it. We can talk about it more next week, but he's looking into the issue as well. He's gonna drive up and have a look at what was done and try to address the issue with the other people, cause I think this is one of those things where it's like,
This
nobody
isn't
wants
new.
to pay. Pardon, no, it's not new, it's not new, nobody wants to pay, but what's new is the road is washing
Oh, yeah.
onto
Well, even
57
that's
and
not
across the
new,
road,
but
there
it's
you go.
just,
But
Yeah.
it needs to stop, and we need to figure out how to help it happen.
well, I believe Mr. Tucker's been lackadaisical in his approach to maintaining the road that he claims that he owns.
That maybe he was claiming to me that he does not own
Well,
it, and
Alright.
that,
Yeah.
whatever,
We'll figure it out next week, we got
That's.
enough left on that point.
okay.
So,
Do we wanna postpone mailing correspondence too, or do we wanna try and deal with it?
why don't we deal with them quickly?
Okay.
Because I have a
I'm
plan.
good with it, let's do it.
I have a plan.
Ooh. Sorry, I was talking about that.
Email from Robin Williams about Fiber Connect, September 14th, 2022. Fiber Connect should not be permitted to solicit huge amount, to the select board. Fiber Connect should not be permitted to solicit huge amounts of money for pre-installation without any commitment for the wired internet will be live. I, along with many people in Monterey, live here for part of the year. That does not mean I'm wealthy. I'm a retired teacher on a fixed income. I had my name on their list for about 2 years now as interested in getting wired internet. It is outrageous that in New Marlboro, just a little up the road from me, they have wired internet without any exorbitant installation fees for only $50 a month. It is an operation. Why did we not get that? Instead, this company lied to the town and said they would not seek government grants, which they did. We lost a company, I believe Wired West, that was being considered in the past. Fiber Connect wants $500 in advance or $1,000 if I hold off, plus $100 a month. They do not yet have any plan like most companies do, where I would not have to pay while I'm away, which is about 7 months of the year. By the time they turn it on, I will be charged $100 a month and I won't even be here. But who knows when they will turn the service on? Do you know? Are there any demands placed on this company, or are they just pocketing our money? They ran cable down my street a few years ago, nothing has happened. They need to face some demands by the select board. You are here to represent the public's interest. In this day and age, it is outrageous that in the enlightened state of Massachusetts, we have no wired internet. I participate in and run many meetings on Zoom that have been a disaster due to reliance on a hotspot. Please do something to remedy this problem. It is a long overdue priority. I've seen the town waste time and energy embroiling itself instead in petty personal attacks on employees and officials. Wired internet is a key priority for all parts of the town. So my first thought was we have a contract with Fiber Connect, which is the town's demands of the company, of the private company Fiber Connect, and Fiber Connect's corresponding demands of the town. So I did send the contract to Robin Williams. I don't know that anything in here suggests that Fiber Connect is not following its contract with the town.
I think the problem that's arisen, and it's been brought to me by a bunch of people in Beartown, as you know, and I know you spent some time trying to deal up, is that the contract doesn't specify it done by a date. And it's not being done. And it's always like, there's always a question of, well, whose fault is that, or what are the issues? We know that there's build out issues, we know that there's getting fiber issues, but we need, at some point, we have to approach him and say, so where's the beef?
So
How long do we wait before we are like,
since I've been on the board, we invite Adam in about every 3 to 6 months, just to get an update, and I think that would be appropriate now, right? It's been a few months.
the last update was that he didn't have fiber, I think, right?
Yeah, I think we had made it a little further with the Beartown poles,
He had
right?
gotten approval, or the make readies had been approved, but the make ready had not been done.
Right. So it would be good to
Physically
know if
moving
it's
the
at least
wires
done now.
Mickey Jervis.
Yeah, I can just tell you that on Swan Road, I have to see, first of all, they marked the pole in my backyard, which I think they decided they're not gonna do that, so they were gonna take my pole out in my backyard and replace it. And they decided against that, so I covered up the white X. And, I saw a truck out by the pole, and I just go out and talk to people if they're anywhere near my house looking official. And it was the guy from, Aspenlawn, or how you say that name? They usually
The
do
tree
tree
company,
work, but
yeah,
they
yeah.
also, and I spoke to this guy after I almost gave him a heart attack because I came up behind him. Excuse me. They are going to be doing the wire, and I guess from National Grid told me they are also gonna be replacing the poles. And he told me, at least his part, the wiring, was going to be done sometime in September. So
Yeah.
I think we're running out of sometime in September, and he was a wiring guy, not a pole guy, he didn't know anything about the poles. And, so that has, if the poles haven't been done, the wiring certainly isn't gonna be done, it doesn't look like it's gonna get done in September. So that's not on Fiber Connect, although I know that, plans he knew nothing about poles, he just was picking up the wire.
Okay, so we'll invite Adam in, we'll get a better update. He usually has some pretty good numbers and ideas, and he give us an update on where he's at. I do see a hand up in the remote attendance from R.
R, you're on if you wanna talk to us.
No, I just was waiting. I thought this was the end for the public comments, or is it not?
Okay.
Not yet.
We'll be there in.
Okay, that's all I really wanted to talk.
So article about tree work we already discussed, as I drafted it, reflecting that we're just doing Bidwell Park for this special town meeting, the increased price. And I will send that to the Monterey News and I'll post that on the select board webpage. So we already kind of dealt with that. We have been acknowledging receipts of ARPA requests as they come in. So we received another one from the town administrator for $4,000, which would be a survey of the property between the ball field and the pavilion, to see where it could go in terms of housing,
What it might be used for.
what it might be used for, right?
Yeah.
Got the focus being on housing.
Yeah.
Okay, great. And we still have another month, little less than a month for those ARPA requests.
We also got one from Lori, didn't we?
We did.
But not in time for this agenda.
Oh, okay.
Approve minutes of these different meetings.
We did the executive.
So we should announce to the public that we have approved minutes to 8/31/22 executive session, but they are not available, they are not released to the public at this point in time. 9/7, 9/14, 9/13, 22 joint we'll work on
Yeah, I was just gonna
next
say.
week.
Yeah, thank you.
We move to item number 19, comments and questions from the public. Rebecca, you're up.
I did want to talk about last week and the comments that were made about the election workers. And Susan, I think you were listening to the wrong week's minutes. I have it queued up if you want to hear it. We were all accused of taking things out of the room. And I'm sorry, if you don't think that's what she said, we can listen to it. I think
Rebecca, which week? Last week or the week before?
Last week.
I listened to the entire thing.
Do you want me to
twice.
play it right now?
I
Or do you
have.
want me to discuss this
I
offline?
asked you to send me the timestamp so I could
I
look,
did.
and that's.
I did.
Okay, well, I didn't get to see it before I came because I've been here a while.
I sent it to you before around 5-ish somewhere.
No,
I
you,
was-
the first thing I got from you said that it
5:30.
was towards the end of the meeting, but the only thing I found was around 1 hour and 57 minutes, which wasn't actually the end of the meeting because it was a very long
Well,
meeting.
I can
But
play it if
that's the
you
only thing I
want. but-
found, and no, the only person who used the word steal was you.
Well, I believe the words, they were taking things out of the office and I have to replace them and want to charge Terry for it. That means that people were stealing and I'm not a thief and I didn't steal anything. And stop shaking your head, Ellen. And I'm sorry that if she was mistaken, she's mistaken. Own up to it. But I am
How about if
sorry.
you were mistaken?
Election workers spend their time. They volunteer. They do a service to this town. And to be treated and spoken about like that is just not right. You want to get people to volunteer, and then you talk about them like they're stealing things. They're taking things that don't belong to them. I don't know what else you want to call it, but by taking things that don't belong to you and then have to have someone else pay for it means you stole from them. And I'm sorry, I didn't take any,
Thank you.
neither did anyone else while I was there. And there was a police officer there. Nothing was stolen. She made a mistake.
Thank you, Rebecca.
Own up to it. Own up to it.
I'm going to call on you, Ellen Coburn.
Thank you. Tomorrow, there's a meeting at 3:30 of the Dignity Initiative. I would like to suggest that Rebecca and anyone else who has an issue like this attend that meeting. I feel that Dignity Initiative is a very powerful idea for our town. And when issues like this come up, they need to be dealt with in the way that was presented in that special meeting that we had, which was wonderful. So I hope that many people will come to the Dignity meeting tomorrow at 3:30. I attended the meeting last week. I totally disagree with Rebecca's impression of what happened, and but that's something that should be discussed in a civilized, polite way. So I hope people will come to the Dignity meeting, and that's all I have to say. Thank you.
All right, thanks. Okay, we're done because it's recorded, it's on YouTube, and we're not going to discuss it. anymore, because we have to move on, and some of us have been, we've been here for a little while, and are
I
there
just
any
have
other
one
comments,
thing.
questions
Justin.
from the public?
Who's this lady?
What's your one question, Rebecca?
I just like to let Ellen know that 3:30 is the middle of the day when people are working. So it's very hard for people who work full-time to just walk out of their job and be here at 3:30. So that's a problem. And so you've made it for retired people only, I guess. I don't know. But people can't come when they're working.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't make it.
Thank you. Okay, so any other comments and questions from the public? Gary Shaw.
My name was mentioned at the last select board meeting as yelling during the select board election. I didn't appreciate it. I don't believe that I yelled. If I suppose it's possible that I raised my voice to quiet people down. If I did, I'd appreciate that people come to me and say, you shouldn't have done that. And that would have been fine. I don't think getting called out in a select board meeting is the way to handle things. Thank you.
I think a lot of communication issues have come up tonight, and I think it's behooves us all to try to get better at communicating things and not letting things get so built up that I don't, when I was growing up, my mom called it the gas can scenario, that the guy runs out of gas and he has a gas can in his car, and the whole way walking along the road, he's convinced the person's gonna be a jerk to them. And he gets there and he's like, you can keep your gas can, right? Like, if you just build it up and you don't vent it, it doesn't get better.
Thank
All
you.
right, we're all gonna do better communication. Motion to adjourn.
Second,
Vote on the motion to adjourn. Susan,
yes.
Scott,
Yes.
meeting, Justin, yes, meeting adjourned at 9:18 PM.